What's the most efficient way for a trader to keep a journal? Each and every week, I've been taking some of your DMs and questions and comments from Twitter or YouTube and putting them in on the show. This week, I'm actually using Instagram for the first time. So I am reading those messages on Instagram. And Rod Riva sent me a great question. What's the better method and system for your note taking that makes it an effective way in time and practice to review your trading? I said, that's a great question. That's hard to answer in a thread. So I'll add this to one of my videos in an upcoming Develop Your Edge show. Thank you so much, Rod Riva, for that question. Let me take you to what I believe is the best and most efficient process for me in journaling and taking notes. Robot executed. Several years ago, I started putting this into play into my notes, into my journaling. I thought to myself, if I take my favorite trade setup, my money setup, and the robot executed it, was just automated, am I trading it better or worse than the robot, than the automation? I think this is such an important piece of a new trader figuring out whether they should be discretionary or systematic. If you take your favorite setup and automate it and just put it on the sim to see how it executed and compare that to how you're executing the setup, that will tell you a lot of information. Now that you have the information on how the robot would have executed your favorite trade setup, now you can look and see, how did I trade it? How much did I trade? This is very important because you have to take in account commissions and fees when you're trading. So first, let's just say, for example's sake, how the robot executed your favorite trade setup last month, and let's just say it made $2,000. Then you look to see how you traded it, and you made $2,500. So you beat the robot by $500. So you say to yourself, okay, I'm outperforming my favorite trade setup if it was automated. But let's just say that the robot traded 10 contracts aside, 10 buys, 10 sales. Now let's say you traded 1,000 contracts aside in making your $2,500. That $2,500 is actually now far less than the robot trading 10 contracts aside. So I look at that and it helps me determine, am I over trading? Am I under trading? Am I better off just letting the automation automatically execute my favorite trade setup? Because it's outperforming me and I'm trading less. A lot of this comes down to, is it more efficient and effective by doing it exactly the way that the robot executed it versus me trading in and out of all of my positions? And even though I'm beating the robot, technically I'm still losing because it's costing me more. Additionally, it's stress and there's a whole lot more things involved. Now that you have all of that information, you have to go and see, what was the environment? Because we know how the robot executed. Let's just say, for example, once again, it made 2,000. You traded it and you made 2,500, but you traded 1,000 contracts aside for the month and the robot only traded 10 contracts aside. Let's look at the environment, because it's not just about 1 month. It's about over time. Maybe the markets were really busy. Maybe there was more opportunities that you felt were important for you to take as a trader, and the commissions really should have been less, but you were trading a lot because the environment dictated that. So it's important to recognize that. Let's go to a chart of the S&P 500 and I'll show you an example. Here we are at a chart of the E-mini S&P 500 on a daily. And you know, each and every week in the Ninja Trader Charting Edge, I talk about, what is my process for the week? Is it green light long? Is it neutral? Is it red light short? What am I looking at for the environment in the market? And I've showed you many times what my process is for doing this. So if you go back and look at that month and you say to yourself, okay, the robot made 2,000, I made 2,500, the robot traded 10 contracts aside, I traded 1,000 contracts aside. Then you go and look and see, well, what was that month like? If it's a month like we're seeing right now, leaving November, well, November was, the first part of the month was very bullish in this bull trend, holding above the 10 and 20-day simple moving averages like I talk about for that green light long. Then we got a little bit neutral where the Bollinger Bands came in, it got a little bit choppy, and then we turned bearish in the S&P 500. So you have to look at that in the context of the month. Because we shifted from a bull mode to a neutral mode to a bearish mode, there might have been a lot more activity for you as a trader versus a month like October, where we were pretty much in a bull mode the entire time. And maybe if you over traded that month, it was just because you were just over trading. There wasn't too much shift and change in environments because sometimes you have to trade a lot and sometimes you shouldn't be trading a lot. That's why I like to look at the robot and see how it executed, then how did I trade, then how much did I trade, and then look at the environment. So I could say, well, you know what? If we're in bull mode for a good period of time, maybe I almost want to just turn on the automation. Maybe that's more efficient. And all of a sudden, we get to a mode where we are now, where we went from bull mode to neutral mode to bear mode. Maybe it's better for me to be more active as a trader. This is so important because you then recognize the moments and the situations as they're happening, and you can make the decision right then and there on how you're going to approach your trading. Additionally, you want to see whether news, events, or data driven moves that month, because that also could add to why you traded as much as you did or how the robot executed. Because a lot of times for me, I'll look at a scenario where just the other day, Jay Powell was putting out comments. I get a trade setup. I may not trade that. And that trade setup may have worked, it may not have. But as a discretionary trader, I'm typically going to stay away from news events or data driven events because the market technicals are less impactful on my strategy, on my trading. Now, a robot doesn't think that way, it just does it. Now, some may agree or disagree with that, but this is something to look at and compare your notes. Lastly, the mental state. This could be the most important part of the notes and the journaling that I do. Where was I in my mind? Is there a family situation happening? Or in my mind, I just wasn't 100%. So when you look at all of this information compared to the robot, you look at it and say, I just really wasn't my best that month. Was there something else going on in my life that caused me not to execute as well as I should have? Because this is a huge part of note taking and journaling is understanding where you are in your mind at the time of execution. Because it's not just about the numbers. It's about you as a trader. We talk about trading psychology a ton on this show, and I talk about it on the podcast. So when I take my notes, I am registering where I'm really at mentally. And there are times where everything is just really super clean for me in my life. I've been eating well, exercising well, family life is great. And you go in there and you're just crushing it. And to me, that's really what a lot of people will call being in a zone where everything lines up for you technically and mentally you're in a good place. But that's why it's important to do all these things so you really recognize where you are. It's not just about taking notes on my P&L. It's not just about taking notes intraday on what happened. It's about doing all these things. So this is all about having balance in your journaling and your notes. Remember, traders, on December 6th, micro ether futures are coming to CME Group. They're going to be 1/10 the size of one ether. I'm super excited about this product. To learn more, go to cmegroup.com. Final thoughts for today, traders. The way that I take notes, the way that I do my journaling, that's personal to me. I just wanted to show you how I do it and how it's helped me become a more effective trader. Now, the other day I put this tweet out and it got a lot of traction. It is the holiday season. And I remember 23 years ago when I entered the holiday season, closing out my first year of trading, I was broke, working multiple jobs to have insurance, to stay in business as a trader, to pay the bills. And because of the pressure of the holidays and trading, I had my first anxiety attack. I was just 21 years old. It was the first of many. This was just one of many setbacks I've had in my career, and like most of them, it was self-induced. The amount of pressure we put on ourselves is a choice. We all want things we don't have right now, and that's okay. Be grateful where you are and give yourself the gift of time this Christmas. When I started to slow things down and not need something today, need something right now, that took the pressure off myself. I was so upset I wasn't able to buy Christmas presents, do things that a lot of my friends were doing at 21 years old, because I had this commitment of wanting to become a successful trader. And that pressure just overwhelmed me and really took years for me to finally get over that. You would think it'd be something that was actually easy, but I kept putting pressure on myself, which created more anxiety. And I just kept thinking, I need this to happen now because as time went by, I became more impatient. But when I finally said, Anthony, give yourself the gift of time, you'll get there. Do what you have to do, but give yourself the gift of time. My short-term results got better. Traders, if you enjoyed today's show, give me the thumbs up and hit that like button. If you didn't, give me the thumbs down, hit that dislike button, and tell me why in the comments down below. Never miss an episode of Develop Your Edge. Hit that subscribe button right now. Remember, traders, I'm always reading your comments. You can DM me on Twitter at Anthony Crudele. And don't forget to check out Instagram at Anthony C. Crudele. Got a ton of cool stuff going on Instagram, so I highly recommend you check it out. And like I said, I am reading those comments on Instagram as well. That's it for today. See you next week.